What up, peeps? How's it going? Part 2. Hunting for Orion for a quick shot, and then we'll go back to the moon. It looks like it cleared up nicely, even though it's cold AF. Trying this blind again. Yo, what up, Kimmy and 24/7? How's it going, y'all? And everybody joining. Alright, let me see if I can find this a little easier. I'll be right back. We got some nebular structure. I'm just trying to figure what this is. It's so weird looking. I think it might be due to the fact that I'm scoping near the door, and the door is causing diffraction. But man, that looks so cool. Looks like a bird Yeah, it's just stretching the star's light to the edge of the door, but it looks like this cool projection thing. Damn. So strange. I thought it was like this nebula. It's definitely diffraction though. This light glare. I think. What up, Ellie? How's it going? Hey ho. Hi. Definitely cool looking. But it's strange that the star itself is not being diffracted entirely, that only a part of it is. I think it's just split, but let's see, I'm going to stay on it for a second. I was just looking for the Orion Nebula, and I can't really go to the right side of the scope because it's on the staircase, and it's just way over to the edge. So I'm trying to scope it blind, like last night, but much harder tonight for some reason. Yeah, let me scope around a little bit. Let me see if it's happening with other stars. Alright, I don't know what star this is, so I'm going to try and stay on it in case it is something, but you can see it's kind of expanding right now. I mean, if this is real, it's just freaking nuts. But I feel like the star underneath it is also starting to get a bit of that diffraction. So let's watch it a bit longer. I'm recording it right now in case it's something. But wow. Like, it doesn't seem like all the stars are getting it. Maybe this is just because this one's particularly bright. Wow, if it really is something, that's freaking insane. I mean, it's just strange that the stars aren't all doing that. I feel like the one underneath it is sort of doing it, but this one's so defined. What do y'all think? It's pretty nuts. Yeah, I don't want to move just in case I lose it. It's tracked really well, thankfully. I did a 2-star align, so it's very steady, but I don't know exactly where it is. I don't know exactly where it is. That's pretty wild. Let me know in the chat if I should zoom in or keep recording, because I don't know, man, I'm having a feeling that this is like a real thing. Unless I've had too many shrooms. I did not have shrooms. Yo. Like, yeah, you know, I'm not like a sensationalist, so I kind of am expecting the other stars around it to do the same, to have the same chromatic or same diffraction, because that's what it looks like, but it also looks nuts. What the hell's going on with that? Like, I'm definitely sure though that the screen door is in the way. So maybe it's just that it's like hitting a particular part of it. Anyway, I gotta stay on it. I should stay there, yeah, for sure. Yeah, should I zoom? Let me zoom and see what's going on here. It doesn't, I gotta say, I'm on the fence. It doesn't look like typical diffraction spikes because it's uneven, but man, I don't know if that's diffraction, then that's the coolest diffraction I've seen. It's just the wildest thing. I don't know, man, that looks crazy. Yo, that really could be something. I don't really know. I gotta say, like, I hate sensationalizing stuff without evidence, but let's just watch it. The moon's up for a little while, and if this keeps moving or it stops, or... See, I went over to the other star to see if it's... I'm definitely surprised. Like, you saw me moving around and I was like, what is that? Is that like a little nebula under that star? I've never noticed it before. Yo, this is just like wild looking. Let's see, 24/7 says the rapid and amount of motion makes me think it's a closer to Earth effect. Rock and filaments, like the ice crystals in the atmosphere, a certain elevation create an illusion of a ring around the moon. Yeah, totally. It's like, I don't know. It's pretty interesting though. It's definitely got geometry. Look, it's like, I was trying to see it. Did you see it on the lower stars? Let's see. Tim Martin says, you know it's dark out there, just what do you see? I don't know, I was sure it was diffraction spikes from the star, but like this looks a little bit different. I'm not sure, to be honest. Like, you know, I always like to downplay things because I don't want to create any fear porn or anything like that. But I'm certainly intrigued here. I wonder if anyone else is seeing this, capturing it. It's pretty obvious looking. I was right near Orion. Can I zoom in? Hey Mary, what's going on? Can I zoom in some more? No, this is, yeah, actually I can. Good, I think it's diffraction spikes. Very cool looking though. Right, it seems like that. I'm taking some long exposures to make sure. I don't know why it took me so long to figure out to do some long exposures. Still cool looking. Yeah, it's just that it's that middle row of stars that was catching maybe the door frame or the top of the roof. Just like one tiny diffraction thing is gonna like make it look like that. Anyway, didn't mean to hype it so hard. Looked really cool. Definitely that star had it more so than the others, but I think as I was moving it up and down doing some long exposure, you can see it. Let's go see what's going on with the moon. Always cool. Inside my soul, you Actually, that's pretty funny, Michael Wise, because it does actually remind me of that, but it just goes to show that you can create any number of like crazy alien-looking things by just affecting the light ever so slightly, or filming through like a screen door or the corner of a roof. Like that, just that row of stars was affected because there's a tiny piece of the doorway, I realize, in the way. But definitely because of the light of the stars and the spectral shift and the scintillation, you get those very cool geometric shapes. Look, it's not uncool, it's just not UFOs. But what's going on, everybody? I can settle. I gotta say, a lot of the times I sound like I'm just debunking things for the sake of it, but it's very fun to have caught all the like lunar waves and the Jupiter and Saturn wave in order to be able to analyze it better from my own perspective, as opposed to having to rely on other footage and other analyses, which I ultimately relied upon. But still, same thing here. It was cool to see and get those kind of effects for the first time, but then also realize that it could have been, you know, ice crystals or doorway diffraction. Yo, peace out, Light Moon. I don't know, did I miss people, or I feel like a lot of people don't like when I say certain things and they just head out. Happy to debate, but maybe you just have to go. Take care. All right, so we got a chain of craters over here, which I really love talking about. Right in the center, Ptolemaeus, the largest hexagon, and then Alphonsus to the left of it, and Arzachel with the center peaks. And then follow down a little bit more, and you got Thebit and Purback, Regiomontanus, and then that huge crater like the diamond shape pointing upwards, like the Day of the Tentacle is, what is that? That is Deslandres. And we got Orontius, Walter, and then the other one that looks really cool is Maginus, kind of the other diamond-shaped, teardrop shape. Really killer features tonight at the 57 mark. Another opportunity to talk about hexagonal craters and crater chains and electrical arcing, because this is a perfect example of like the connectivity and then the boundary walls that are shared by each of these craters. You have growing boundaries that kind of reach those hexagonal shapes. You have center peaks, sharp defined walls. You have features on the rims of the larger craters. These shapes that share the walls almost look exactly like Sea of Serenity and Sea of Tranquility, but smaller scale. And then some of them look like, you know, Nebula and apple shapes and Squatter Man and owl eyes, and really the conjugate field geometry of the torus and the hyperboloid. And I'm just going to sketch it here for a little bit, because why not? Second, let me pull up this program. All right, so let's see. So the craters I was talking about, Ptolemaeus, right here, hexagon, and another hexagon right next to it that's a little stretched and kind of broken apart at the bottom. Still, once you get these 120-degree angles, this means there's a Birkeland current right here, kind of pinching it and creating a stronger form than if it were just curved. And then you have these little vent holes. You have central peaks, center peak. This one's more dodecahedral. Still, you got some sharper corners on it. And you got the chain connected them. You got mounds right on the edge of them. Look at this conjugate geometry. It looks essentially, whoops. Go back. Play the line up the feature game. Alright, so again, this that infinity shape. You got energy in, energy out, out, in, inertial plane, field. All right, what are the differences? The idea here is that popular mainstream science says that an impact happened. So something in 2.5 to 3 billion years ago, you got an aberrant-shaped asteroid or meteor hitting Ptolemaeus, another one hitting Alphonsus, another one hitting Arzachel. This is the popular theory. And if you suggest otherwise, people are like, you're crazy, it definitely impact craters, this is how it happened, shut up. But I'm showing you right here. You believe with your own eyes. Take a look at these features and tell me how a rock traveling at, just unbelievable speeds, hitting the moon in this kind of orderly shape. And also the size of Ptolemaeus, which is roughly 100 kilometers across, and then this about 80, 60. So it's coming at it, and then you got these. So maybe it doesn't hit it necessarily, right? The new excuse is that it explodes above the surface, kind of creating this perfectly circular crater. Right here I'm describing popular scientism. All right, so this is the popular theory. And for me, there's just, okay, so for the second theory, or the second argument, Mars or Earth moved along this line as it skimmed the moon, or the moon skimmed it. And as this planet moved along, it struck with electrical arcing as it went across. And if you've ever seen any of those arc discharge in a laboratory, the filaments and the branches are just moving around the whole time. They're kind of turning and spiraling and twisting and burning. And so it's moving along this current, burning a hole. Here it kind of sputters, goes this way, starts burning another hole. And what's happening here is these are little bubble bursts, because it's creating magnetic reconnection. It's the same reason bubbles burst, is because they hit a tiny pinch at the edge and they actually snap and magnets reconnect, and then you get a sonic boom or boundary layer. And so all these little circular bubbles are growing, and as the filament moves across the surface, and this is akin to your finger touching a doorknob, and you see that little spark of electricity. So imagine that on the galactic and cosmic scale, and it moves across. This grows in bubble form as a circle, a little bit less of a circle, and it meets dense points over here, which are these invisible kind of dense bubbles, like this. If you see the bubble documentary or the experiments that I sent, you'll see this is what is essentially counter space, and this is space. That's why everything looks like this, like a flower. Yo, what's going on? Yo, Q. It's been a while. Where's Wolfman Jack and our old crew? There's an intermediate crew 2 years ago. Now we got a almost new crew. There are a couple of OG spacers. Let's see. Am I making sense? I think I'm making sense. So, to me, makes a lot more. There's a lot more rationale behind electrical interaction, creating boiling on the surface that create hexagons that we see today right in front of us, and leave very reminiscent marks on all planetary bodies, including comets and asteroids and Ceres, and they all look the same. The reason they look the same is because they all are from the same process. They all didn't get hit by different stages of bombardments and have really random looking shapes. They all have recursive bubble cellular diffusion and what is it called? It's essentially circle packing. If you look up circle packing, you'll see that there are algorithms that allow the shapes in life to take the smallest possible, to fill the smallest possible shape. So circles in life, essentially plasma shells, will try and find the strongest, most optimized form and also try and fill in all the areas with bubbles. That's how things connect. That's what air is. It's tons and tons and trillions of tiny little bubbles of nitrogen and hydrogen, oxygen, and space is likely, an unbelievable number of different types of bubbles at all scales. That's how we see all the way to however far away the stars are. And that's why the speed of light varies through space, because it varies when you look at it light through water. It quote unquote slows down, but really it's because the perturbation of the field is different in water than it is in air, and it must be different in different parts of space. Pumpkin space. Alright, let's look at other features on the moon. Then there are the dendritic ridges. Look at this. Talk about pumpkin moon. Here's our jack-o'-lantern face. Recursive comet shapes right here. I can show you. This is the Apennine mountain range with the gateway into Mare Imbrium. The gateway drone. Archimedes, Aristillus, Autolycus, Cassini, Vallis Alpus. Ooh, that's off my screen. up, Rockstar? Been a while. How's it going? Ellie says, I am intermediate crew. I consider you OGL. You've been part of so many shows, it's crazy. Always there, thank you. A lot of y'all have. Who else we got joining us? So I switched out the focal reducer and got zoomed in here, so still got some of that cold wind coming through, changing up the focus, but I'm really loving this shot of the Apennines right under the Terminator, and of course Valles Alpes up there. Shot of Archimedes looking like an imprint of a comet. It's so incredible. Tunes coming your way. I'm gonna go get myself a drink. Sitting here right at the entrance of Mare Imbrium, Archimedes top left, Autolycus, Aristillus, Cassini, and tons of dendritic ridges. You can see the shape of electricity imprinted on the surface of the moon. Really simple to see these shapes, but much harder to make the conclusion, to jump to the conclusion that it's all connected because of the same process. But when you're there, it just all reveals itself. Looking at the surface now, basically it's just like, oh, there's that. That's what that looks like. Okay, that's how that happened. It's incredible to have an experience like that instead of being like, oh, these are all isolated incidents in this weird, random place where nothing is connected and there's no reason they look that way except, wow, that's coincidental. Pareidolia, that sure doesn't exist. You're seeing things, crazy person, as opposed to you see things because they are the same process and they are the same geometry. And the reason humans look like pareidolic shapes is because we're grown along filaments the same way these, like, look at these structures. It looks like webbing. It looks like networks of skin, and it looks like cells, but it also looks like stretched earth and concrete. It also looks like comets. Wow, when it gets clear, it's so nice. So the moon's setting right now. So I feel like as it gets a little warmer and it sets, And we got this little angry trout, angry fish to the top right, the glowing white eyes. Actually, wait, let me flip the colors. Such an angry fish right here. Angry trout. All right, gonna get myself a quick drink. Be back in a moment. What's up, Richard Watmore and everybody hanging out? Everybody left. I mean, like, everybody left.
Now my mind is wide open, staring at a trillion bright lights. Where the hell are you? Now my heart is wide open, wide open, wide open. Traveling to a million far sights. Don't try.
Yeah, I'm just sitting here grooving with this music, but the reason this geometry is so simple to kind of place everywhere across the moon is really because that's, like if you follow Ken Wheeler and he talks about the conjugate field geometry, and you see the primer fields, and you see really all the new age, like Chakra, Nassim Haramein, what is it? There's that whole thing with the truth movement and Gaia. They show they show these shapes constantly, toruses and they don't show the hyperboloid really, the hourglass shape, but they show the torus, and then they show the flower of life. They show the golden ratio and Fibonacci spiral, which also fits within this. And really, what that essentially is, I believe, is something like this. So what's going on is, the idea is through the center of this torus, right? You got the infinity sign, the yin yang, really, but on a two-dimensional representation. Hold on. It's also hips. It's also squatter man. It's also eyeballs and breasts and genitals and the split of the body. It's also the inner flow. It's this shape as well, the hyperboloid. But then it's also, if you move these shapes up and down, the vibrational, you got the Star of David, which is the Merkaba, which they tell you to meditate upon. You have the vacuums. You have gradiated fall-off of information, so central point being the now, the point in time that we experience of all matter, and then that as it manifests along the inertial plane, time as we experience it probably has a fall-off in terms of what we can and can't experience in terms of past or future, or past or future, depending on which way you're looking. But this shape also creates the shells along magnetic filaments. The shells are arranged by frequency resonance. Frequency resonance changes the number of protons and electrons. And so every element that we know on the periodic table is the same thing. It's a different modality in a different shell. And they can jump, which is transmutation of elements. Really answers pretty much everything. I mean, it sounds kind of obnoxious saying it that way, but I think we actually have a lot of ancestral information trying to tell us this exact thing, but science has basically diluted the concept. Even I watched something from Wal Thornhill today where he says exactly what I'm saying, or I basically maybe ripped him off, but it's because science doesn't make the leap to say that quantum mechanics as we know it is essentially how the cosmos work, because Big Bang cosmogony and Big Bang theoretical astrophysics has become so deeply set in culture. It's like the heroes, it's like Superman or comics or Hollywood. People talk shit about Hollywood, but they still watch movies. And so it's the same sort of thing. The Big Bang cosmogony doesn't really make sense, but electric plasma integration on filaments does make sense. And for some reason, even though NASA works with exactly this tech, pop science mainstream discusses the universe as if it were disconnected and not electric. That's really what's going on right now. So if you make a holistic jump to say, okay, all these shapes, the apple core, our lungs, hips, eyeballs, the mouth of a leopard, look at all shapes in nature and start applying this one conjugate field geometry of the torus and the hyperboloid, and understand that at the center is a Z-pinch, and Z-pinches create external shells of plasma. Absolutely every phenomenon that we recognize, including consciousness, emotions, culture, language, works exactly on this geometry. Yeah, I tend not to breathe because I feel like huge breathing sounds on the mic, like. But Alan Watts would, I'm sure, scold me for not releasing the breath. And it looks brighter on the lower right because that's where it's setting. That's towards the sun. That's where it's getting the most light from. All right, let's find another iteration. So what's crazy is I was showing you Ptolemaeus. Now that you've seen this is what I was showing you is, let me adjust my chair 1 moment. All right, so I'll show you how recursive it really is. Yeah, so this is C Serenity, and then C of Tranquility is right here. And then let's look at Ptolemaeus. That took way too long to figure out. Anyway, point is, Sea of Serenity, Sea of Tranquility. It's not the same angle, but essentially the same type of thing going on between Ptolemaeus and Alphonsus. It's the same exact shape, just different variations on the theme. Inertial plane, that's why you got these things. Energy in, energy out, energy in, energy out. Shells, shells, shells. beautiful glow around the moon. This is the real glow. I'm not affecting it at all. I got rid of all the filters. So it's nice and bright and yellowy as it goes down. It's close to setting. And then I'll do a quick shot of Orion before closing it out for the night. I appreciate everybody's kind words and everybody hanging out with me time and time again. Makes it all worthwhile. Again, conjugate field geometry in a conscious field creates everything we see and know at all magnitudes. Very empowering. There's some of these songs I don't think I've ever played before. I just pulled up this playlist. I was like, damn, here's some really deep demo cuts. Alright, here's another one. Yo. Alright, so there's a little space between the tree and the horizon. And so we still got a little shot of the moon. Orion is not going to be possible. It just got clouded out that whole area. And it's really impossible to kind of, it's actually really high up there. It's kind of up at the 50, 60 degree. So no Orion for tonight, but we'll get this moon as sets and call it a night. Almost 2 hours here. Pretty sweet, wonderful visuals and trippy crystalline star aberrations in the beginning, and then tons of examples of lunar geometry and the conjugate field, and really deep cuts here that I haven't played before. So let's see what else. Finally exhaled. Tonight was awesome. We end with the proper shot of Orion Nebula, but you can see the altitude, but also like, man, the air current is coming through pretty hardcore. That's what happens to the view. Let's log that for reference. Basically just exciting and freezing and chilling all these crystals in the sky. It's actually quite beautiful. It looks like an old camera, but the details all lost. Anyway, thank you so much, Kimmy, 24/7, and Ellie Wynn. Thank you for being super fan. I know all of you are just the coolest. I'm scrolling through here. Thank you, Miguel. You took off. Take it easy. And be smart. And man, where's everybody? Leave me a comment at the bottom. I know a whole bunch of people showed up earlier for the weird. I'm sure they're like aliens, alien, weird crystal, alien. Yeah, it's midnight, 12:16. It's already the 5th of December. Pretty amazing that we're hitting 2020. Kind of unreal. But I will be streaming a whole bunch. Still working, but taking off over the holidays for a little bit. But definitely could get some streams in. And I think it'll even get nice and warm some nights. We'll get some real clarity. Yo, peace out P-Rogue as well. I'll catch y'all tomorrow around the same time. Or maybe I'll do a late one tomorrow around 9 or 10. So we'll see. But anyway, thanks again. Good night, everybody. Catch you soon.